Today is a good day by default because it is new guitar day. But what guitar is in the box? If you clicked on this video, you already know. So without further delay, let's check it out. Yes, sir. Yes, this is the N8FP from Legator Guitars. I got this on clearance back on July 4th.
Let's go already!
I know, I'm horribly slow making videos. I apologize for that. But I'm stoked to have this thing. Look at it. It's an absolute monster. I'm a terrible player, and even in my hands, this thing sounds fantastic. It's actually the second Legator I've ever owned. Years ago, I had a G7 FS. I'll put up a screenshot somewhere. It was a beautiful guitar, and it played awesome. It was just one of the last instruments that I would reach for when playing, so I ended up selling it. I've got a little bit of regret about that, but when this one popped up, I had to grab it. It was just too good of a deal to pass up. Anyway, let's check out some specs.
All right, let's machine gun our way through the specs, and I'll start off by saying that I made a mistake when buying this guitar. When I bought it, I should have grabbed the spec sheet immediately, but I failed to do so. I was unaware that the sale was actually a clearance sale, so when the sale was over, they cleared the guitar from the website. The only models that are still present are their most current active lineup. Mine is not listed anymore. So this kind of forced me to go to other websites where the guitar was still being sold for the spec sheet. The problem with that, not all of the specs on these other websites are correct. I have some things memorized from the initial listing on Legator's website, so I can confirm and deny some things, but let's just do a compare and contrast. So here's the guitar at Stars Music. If I scroll down, let's take a look at it. This is the Legator Ninja Performance N8FP. It is an 8-string multi-scale fan fret guitar made in Korea in 2023. It has an ash body. I can confirm that is correct. There is a bolt-on 5-piece mahogany maple neck with an ultra-thin profile. All right, ultra-thin profile, check. Bolt-on, check. 5-piece mahogany maple neck, I'm not so sure about that. Looking at mine, it looks more like a singular piece of roasted maple. And in fact, if we scroll up to the screenshots here, granted this isn't the best photo, but to me this looks like one piece roasted maple. We'll take a look at the screenshots on the next listing, but to me that looks like one piece roasted maple. Also, all right, ebony fretboard, that's not accurate. This guitar absolutely has a dark rich light fretboard. I have plenty of other guitars with ebony fretboards, and I can do a compare and contrast side by side and say no. This guitar is absolutely rich light. 24 jumbo stainless steel fan frets, that checks out. Scale length 26.5 to 28, that checks out. Radius 18 inches. Okay, so I thought I recall on the initial listing that it was a 16-inch radius. Maybe it's actually 18. I could be recalling incorrectly. The electronics, proprietary Legator Hive humbuckers with Alnico 5 magnets, cool. So I recall on Legator's website that they are listed as passive humbuckers. However, there is a battery, and I can confirm the battery is not powering something like light up lumen lays. Maybe they are passive humbuckers. I've just never seen passive humbuckers that require a battery. Oh well. There is a singular volume pot with a 3-way selector switch for going between the pickups. There is a fixed brass bridge, and the tuners are proprietary Legator locking tuners with an 18:1 ratio. The overall finish for both the body and the neck is satin. All right, so let's compare this to another listing on Musician's Friend. And look, it's my particular model. Before we go down to the actual listing, let's take a look at their screenshots. Yep, see, to me that looks like one piece roasted maple. Here also looks like one piece roasted maple. And granted, these aren't the best photos, and maybe it's just really well done. Maybe it is a 5-piece neck. It just doesn't look like that to me. It doesn't even look like it's 3-piece. It looks like singular. Oh well. Scrolling down. All right, so we'll skip the body. We've already confirmed that it is ash with satin finish. Neck profile here is listed as C. To me, that doesn't seem correct. The initial listing, at least over there on the other website, has it as ultra thin. I would more align with that, and I would say it's probably more along the lines of a U or a D shape. This neck does not feel like a C shape to me. Here, again, it's listed as 5-piece mahogany maple. I'm not so sure about that. Joint bolt-on, absolutely. Scale length 26.5 to 28. Yep, that checks out. All right, so fretboard material here also listed as ebony. Nope. Radius, 14 inches. All right, so I thought I recalled 16 on Legators. The other listing has it as 18. Here it's listed as 14. Maybe it's a compound radius. Not sure. Fret size, medium jumbo, okay. Number of frets, 24, yep. Inlays, offset dot, nut width 2.15. Those last two specs are not listed on the initial listing, so at least not on the other listing we looked at. So, yep, that's cool. I appreciate that. Electronics, HH, configuration with proprietary humbuckers. We already know these are Hive humbuckers, and I can confirm that with the initial listing on the website, at least from my memory. Control layout is a one master volume with a three-way selector switch, and the bridge is fixed. Hardtail, absolutely. Tuning machines are locking proprietary to Legator. All right, so we really only have 3 points of contention. The first, neck shape, pretty sure it's not a C, more along the lines of a U or a D shape. The fretboard material is absolutely not ebony, it is definitely Richlite. And then the radius. Is it 18, 16, 14, compound? Don't know! Oh well.
So we already heard how the Legator sounds on its own, but let's compare it against one of my favorite guitars, the Agile Perihelion 825-28. Let's do it. And now, how about a little 8-string back and forth? Let's do it. Just as a call out, the signal chain and the levels were the exact same between those two guitars. Before we wrap up this video, let's do a few pros and cons, 3 of each specifically. The first pro is going to be the neck. I like just about everything on this neck, from the roasted maple on the back to the Richlite fretboard to the fret ends, which are very well dressed by the way. I like just about everything on this neck. The second pro is going to be the body profile thickness. This one's a little bit difficult to explain, but in basic terms, the body thickness profile is how close the guitar sits to you when you play, and for me, that's a big deal for whether or not I keep reaching for an instrument. In order to demonstrate the body profile thickness, I thought I'd compare it against 2 of my thinner profile guitars and 2 of my thicker profile guitars. Let's check that out. And here we can do body profile comparison in terms of thickness. Just as a call out, we're going to be doing all of these comparisons from the underside of the guitar, the part that sits in your lap. The reason being is that a lot of these instruments have belly cuts and other bevels that can be deceptive in terms of how thick the body actually is. With that said, in the middle we have our Legator, on the left we have my GOC Valkyrie 3, and on the right we have my Ibanez S-Series Iron Label. Back in the day, GOC used to advertise their guitars as being very thin to begin with. That was a selling point for them. And the Ibanez S-Series has always been very thin. I mean, look at that. That is very trim. As you can see, the Legator is by far the thickest of the 3. However, it is still what I would classify as very thin. It is not as thin as the GOC and certainly not as thin as the Ibanez, but it's definitely trim. And to prove that, let's take the comparison with some more traditional models. And now for some chunkier guitars. As before, the Legator is in the middle. On the left, we have my Wolf WLP 750T, and on the right, we have my PRS Mark Helcomb 7-string Signature. The WLP is always meant to mirror a much more traditional single cut, and PRS has always kind of done their own thing, but you can clearly see that of the 3, the Legator is by far the trimmest. The final pro is a basic one, but one I feel counts for a lot, and that's aesthetics. This thing looks awesome. It looks like a metal monster, and it is a metal monster. I love it. And now let's talk about cons. We'll get through these quickly. The first con is the fact that this guitar came as is. There was no gig bag. And to be honest, that's to be expected. When a guitar is sold on clearance, you shouldn't expect to get a gig bag. It just would have been nice. The second con is actually related to one of the pros. I said that I love just about everything with this guitar neck, and that's true. The only thing I don't like about it is the shape profile. It's definitely got a thin U profile, and I'm just not the biggest fan. I've got a similar neck profile on that Ibanez S-Series, and it's nothing against either of those guitars. There's nothing wrong with that particular profile. It's just not my preference. The final con feels really nitpicky just so we can get to 3, so I'll just say I wish I had known the Legator was this awesome, much sooner. I already mentioned that I had that old G7 FS and that I sold it and that I kind of regret it. I regret it even more after playing this one. If I had known the Legator was still being this awesome this many years later, I probably would have a few more models from them. And that's it. If you guys stuck around to the end of the video, thank you very much. I appreciate you. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Take care of yourselves, find a smile, and I'll see you for the next one. Later.